Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be getting into Illinois high school. I'm going to seeing exactly on how racism is really being done and why mostly the Democrats are actually racist rather than the Republicans. But then again, Republicans don't get any easy break either. All right, let's go on. Illinois high school to implement race-based grading system, and I'll be the first one to say that there's already been a race-based grading system. I mean, black people tend to get more points than like either white people, and then Asians will get the least amount of points compared to blacks, and then white people are around normal. So I mean, there's already kind of like a grading, a race-based system, but we'll go on to see exactly what this means in particular. Oak Park and River Forest High School administrators are calling the plan transformative education, professional development, and grading. In order to boost the grades of black students, instead of providing additional instruction or assistance, teachers will be ordered not to dock students for missing class, misbehaving in school, or failing to turn in their assignments. These variables disproportionately harm black students, according to a report from West Coast News. See, this is what I'm talking about, like the actual racism here. This is not going to actually help black people at all, because again, if you actually want to help black people or any Pacific race for that matter to achieve and get better, then what you're going to do is that you're going to try to get them help and find ways to make your school not be garbage. And if your school is garbage, then your school is just garbage. A lot of the schooling today is terrible. They don't teach anything, right? There's more of an indoctrination camps as a current, and they're just terrible. And doing this does absolutely nothing at all. Again, this is more due to the fact that people just need to really just find a way to better school kids. Also, not only that, the way kids or way men are specifically taught in general. So you're going to have to find a different way to make more hands-on stuff for men than you would just make them sitting in the classroom all day. So that's another thing that we're coming to across. But again, I digress. This is not going to help black people at all. This is just it won't help them. Traditional grading practices perpetuate inequalities and intensify the opportunity gap. A slide from the presentation by Assistant Superintendent for Student Learning Lori Forenza during a meeting where she announced the plan reads: the plan states that many OPRFHS teachers are successfully exploring and implementing new, more equitable grading practices, such as utilizing aspects of competency-based grading, eliminating zeros from the grade book, and encouraging and rewarding growth over time. West Coast News noted that according to the Illinois State Board of Education, 38% of OPRF sophomore students taking the Scholastic Aptitude Test SAT failed. The OPRF failure rate was 77% for black students, 49% for Hispanics, 27% for Asians, and 25% for whites. Okay, but that doesn't mean necessarily it's bad. I think it's stupid in general, for the most part, but I don't think like the SAT really does fucking anything at all. Forenza previously called for race-based grading in August to try even the scores. OPRF's administration will adopt language that makes and keeps the system visible and continues to name racism as a complex interconnected structure. She wrote in a letter to the Board of Education at the time: "We must recognize the unique challenges faced during the pandemic, intensify the need for a systematic approach to confronting the racial and socioeconomic discrepancies often experienced by our underrepresented student population. This trend in education has risen with the popularity of Ibram X. Kendi, author of How to Be an Anti-Racist and Critical Race Theory." Columbia's University Center for Professional Education of Teachers cited Kendi while discussing equity and assessment. They noted that he explains how traditional testing policies perpetuate racist and inequitable ideas and policies in education. He explains that achievement in this country is based on test scores, and since white and Asian students get higher test scores on average than their black and Latino peers, they are considered to be achieving on a higher level, the report stated. Their solution in part was to emphasize effort and progress, not grades. Okay, no, this is not going to help. Okay, so first off, we need to focus on not specifically on other races performing better than others, because there's always going to be a race that's going to be performing better than the other races. That's just fact. Like, that's just going to happen. What we need to focus on is, rather, this is more of a cultural issue. I would say this would go more to black families having single mothers, and the fact that we are not focused on this issue is a huge problem. So if we can get more of, I would say, fathers trying to stay with specifically the women that they want, which would not really help, because black women are intolerable. All right, they're really annoying. They can be very, very obnoxious. They're usually very masculine. A lot of them are overweight, so it's just, do a lot of these things. It's like, it drives men to not want to date them. They're, as I said before, they are the least I would say dateable race out of all the other races. So I mean, there's a lot of cases to where that may be, to where something may be wrong on that front. But again, as I said, a lot of the problems is there's a lot of black single mother households, and when we go to the 70% of single mothers, mostly just being to the fact of have men tend to have higher incarceration. Men have a higher chance of being rapists, and et cetera. So that there's also statistics as well that are that have negative effects of women being having negative effects. Except for women, is a little bit different than men, because the women will develop and react differently compared to men. Men react in more of aggressive manner, so which means they get more incarceration, more sexually deviant, which actually that has a negative, which that sexual deviant or whatever or what have you is going to be directed more towards the female, because the female becomes as more sexually active than they would normally with a male around. So there we have it. And males have, single fathers have a less of these problems. So the girls have less of these issues to really have. I obviously having both male and father are the ideal suspect, but are the ideal goal. But first, we have to address the bigger issues here, and the bigger issues are these issues, and nobody wants to talk about it because we have to defend women at all costs, even though they are currently right now the underlying issue. And then after we address that issue, we can address onto why men are not staying in relationships with these women and what's causing these things. And I can tell you one thing: feminism has really not helped at all in this case. So that's one major thing here. So again, we have a huge issue on specifically culture and how we address these issues. Doing this does not help black people. Another thing too, not having to dock people for missing class, misbehaving in school, or failing to turn in their assignments. That's ridiculous, because again, this all comes down to really responsibility. People need to have responsibility for themselves, and not doing this does not prepare them for the real world. It's already that school systems don't prepare children or people in general for the real world as it is, because nobody wants to how to open your bank account, or how to pay your bills, or how to do any of these life lessons that are, I would say, very, very important for people to learn. Because people say, like, oh, you turn 8. When you turn 18, you're an adult. Well, I would say that you're not an adult. I say you're probably not an adult until at least you're 25, maybe even older. Why? This is mostly just due to the fact that school doesn't teach you any life lessons. They don't teach you any important things. And you can't really be even half of an adult at 18 because you don't know any of the basic stuff that you have to go through. And this is a huge deal. Yeah, maybe you could say it's for the parents to raise them, but the parents can only do so much, right? Like the parents are not going to know how to do these specific things in these type of ways. So the best way is to incorporate how to pay bills, how to do taxes, and all these other things that are very, very important for everybody. It's not just a thing. I would dare say not even put algebra until at least junior year of high school, because algebra is, in my opinion, not really all that important when it comes down to just knowing your basic math, your basic English, and then taxes and all the other important things that life has to give, because these are what's important. Now, obviously, you wouldn't do this at a very young age, right? So you wouldn't be doing all these things at a young age because kids have a harder understanding of it. So you would do it at a little bit of an older age and implement this stuff. And I think that's what high school should be. Be a little bit before high school or definitely in high school. These things should be taught because these are very important. Because once you get out of high school, you're in your adult life, right? You're going to college, you're doing this stuff and things you need to pay, and that's very important. So that should be incorporated. But again, this is not going to help. This is actually going to cause more issues in general. Again, schools are not going to help because the schools are already corrupt and they're already doing horrible things. So they honestly think this is going to work. It's not. This is making black. This, in my personal opinion, is making black people seem like they're ignorant and stupid and that they can't do anything for themselves when that's not the case. I already don't like the whole system to where black people are rewarded extra points for surpassing stuff and like that, because I don't see how that's the case. Again, you also have to look at the culture and everything. That's the biggest deal. We'll go through one more thing and then we'll end this here. We'll go to look at the presentation here and see if this gives us any good stuff here. So this is 11 pages. Strategic Plan Priority 2, Transformative Education, Professional Development, and Grading. Throughout the 22-23 school year, OPRFHS will implement a professional development plan that is comprehensive and differentiated to support the needs of all teachers and the learning of all students. By fall of 2023, consistently integrate equitable assessment and grading practices into all academic and selective courses. Goal: implement a professional development plan that is comprehensive and differentiated and integrate equitable assessment and grading practices into all academic and elective courses. Current professional development, district initiatives, assessment and structured technology, restorative practices, summary of findings, next steps, grading and assessment, summary of findings, and next steps. Structure of professional learning time during the 2021 to 2022 school year. Wednesday late start. 90 minutes of time split into two parts. First 30 minutes was district-led professional learning. The second 30 minutes was time for application of learning, professional development aligned to district initiatives and centered in equity, assessment, instructional technology, and restorative practices. A detailed summary of the PD provided this year is in the board document. Survey responses from most institute and staff development days indicated that over 70% of the teachers agreed that the professional development would impact professional or student growth. Over 90% agreed that the professional development aligned with the district school implement plan, some indication of need for differentiated PD and centered on their immediate classroom needs. TCT leaders provided feedback. Split time was hindering ability to collaborate and work productively. Split time was stopped. Focus shifted to 3 or 4 essential collaborative teams. How we will know when students have learned the standard analysis and discussion of formative assessment data. How we will respond when they don't learn. How we will respond when they already know it. Administration provides resources and time for teachers to collaborate around assessment and student performance. Leadership training for the 22-23 teacher collaborative team leaders will be provided on an ongoing basis beginning May 2022. 2 focus on literacy, focus on classroom environment, and 2 from special education, math, science, English, history will work with teachers on classrooms during teacher collaboration time, division meetings, and other professional occasions. Grading and assessment. During the 2020 to 21 school year, a team of teachers and administrators read and discovered 5 texts, including grading for equity, go, get, set, go, pointless, what we know about grading, on your mark, utilizing the text, panel discussion, and collaborative team leaders recently participated in a learning opportunity with Dr. Douglas Reeves. Traditional summary of findings: traditional grading practice different equalities and intensify the opportunity gap. Educating equitable assessment and practices into all academic and selective courses requires the collaborative effort of a team of educators committed to improvements to benefit all students, and so forth. Like, all this stuff here is what we see. Again, I don't think this is going to really help anything. The one way to improve your educational system is by to simply fix things to where we have a huge issue, and this is not the huge issue. Again, this is more of a cultural problem, and this is not going to fix the culture. So, I digress. That's it for the video, guys. Like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.